Joining me today is the founder and CEO of Cinnamon Energy Systems, Barry Cinnamon. He's a true pioneer in the industry and one of the most influential voices in all of solar. Barry's also the host of The Energy Show, which is a podcast where he discusses all things solar. So I definitely encourage you to check that out for some incredible content. Without further ado, Barry, welcome to the Greenlancer Solar Spotlight.
Hey, great. Thanks, Nick, and thanks, Jeremy, for inviting me on.
Sure thing. So Barry, tell us the Barry Cinnamon story. We want to know when you got into solar and what made you do so.
It's a long story because I realized I've been doing this for like almost 45 years. But in college in 1977, there was this energy crisis thing where oil prices went up. Jimmy Carter did a speech that was the energy crisis was the moral equivalent of war. So wasn't sure what I wanted my major to be. I was doing physics, but I decided to get into solar, kind of created a solar curriculum because back then it didn't exist. And when I graduated, I went to work for a solar company in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I continued to do solar and energy efficiency until about 1984. What happened is the tax credits went away in the early 80s when Reagan came in, and it killed the solar market. So what do you do when you can't follow your passion? I just decided to go back to school. Went to B school, and when I graduated from B school, I still couldn't find a job in solar. So I did, to me, the next best thing, which I spent 15 years in the software industry. Founded a couple of software companies, took one public, so I kind of got the hang of the finance side of things, and restarted doing solar in 2001 when I was living in California. And I realized that PV was a terrific investment, even though it wasn't being sold as such. So I started a company called Akina Solar. We, over the next few years, half a dozen years, we became the largest national scale residential installer with offices in 7 states, had a successful public offering, partnered with Westinghouse, created Westinghouse Solar in 2010, and I sold the whole company in 2012 and couldn't kind of retire, not even close to that. So I started up Cinnamon Energy Systems and happily doing residential and commercial solar and battery storage systems in Silicon Valley since 2012, 2013.
Awesome. And since that time under Cinnamon Energy Systems, what would you say has been your biggest obstacle to date?
Well, it's really funny. When I started in 2001, my biggest challenge was I couldn't buy solar panels. I was a newcomer, and the established manufacturers, none of whom are in business anymore, really were not looking at selling to new customers. So I managed to get some solar panels from Kyocera and then Sharp, and they turned into be the biggest a couple decades ago. And that worked out really well. We became one of their biggest customers. But it was funny, I couldn't get solar panels. Shifting forward to today, almost 20 years later, the biggest challenge 3 months ago was finding good employees in a full employment environment. The labor, the construction industry was busy out here in California. I just couldn't really find good installers. The solar business was booming. Now, 3 months later, it's flipped. It's finding customers in a recession. So I think that's what every solar company is going to be focusing on for the next 6 months or so until we really start getting on a recovery trajectory, is finding good customers.
Right. It's funny you say that too, because this morning we did a podcast with the founder of SolarGraph, who's been talking about, different ways to approach selling from a remote position, because most people aren't canvassing door to door or doing any sort of face-to-face meetings right now. So that's definitely relevant. Well, in my opinion, solar is still in its infant stages, if you will, as far as the industry as a whole. Which areas do you think that solar has improved the most, and which areas do you think could still use improvement?
Well, from a technology standpoint, the equipment costs have really plummeted. So tremendous improvements on the solar module side. It's kind of funny. I look back, the price of an inverter is the same as it was in 2001, so that hasn't budged. But the inverters are 2 or 3 times more reliable, 5 or 6% more efficient. and they have a lot more capability. So a lot of improvements in the equipment. Where we could really use improvement is really finding a way to continue our ongoing battle against our biggest competition, which continues to be the incumbent utilities. I'm talking about distributed generation and behind the meter solar and storage, but the incumbent utilities, almost every single one of them fight solar in every way possible. I mean, I was on another an hour phone call this morning with the California Solar and Storage Association, working on good policies for storage. And, almost the entire conversation every single week is focused on ways to make sure that policies are balanced between utilities and behind the meter solar, instead of being kind of, business as usual with the utility business model.
Yeah. So, and we've seen a lot of that too, just from our perspective, working nationally, throughout all 50 states. It's definitely been more of a crawl rather than a walk or a run. But where do you hope to see things, say, 5 years from now?
Well, we're on a good trend line. Temporary hiccup here with the coronavirus. I mean, a major hiccup. It's a recession, so we have to get over that. But where we're going to be 5 years from now, solar and storage is going to be the standard on new construction. It's going to be integrated with building energy management systems, and there's going to be a lot more vehicle to grid connections. And solar is going to continue to proliferate at different paces in different states around the country. But we'll see penetrations of 20 or 30% in forward-looking states like California, and some of the ones on the East Coast, New York. Hawaii has always been a leader, and then some of the states that have been a little bit more laggards are going to get with the program as the costs keep coming down, utility prices keep coming up, and people want clean energy. So that's my expectation. It's not going to be a sudden change, although the only big sudden change would be if federal policies for solar change. Most likely that would happen with the new administration in Washington, if that happens.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
No, you can't. You'd be dead.
Yeah, we'll see. But Barry, your podcast is one of the most respected in the industry. It's been awesome to hear how you got your start in it. You really are a pioneer and one of the best advocates for solar in the United States, if not the world. What made you decide to start creating your own content and start doing your podcast, The Energy Show?
Well, first of all, Nick, I want to get a clip of that recording and play it for my mother and my family. So that's really good. Thanks for those compliments. It's really gracious. But what got me started on the podcast was really I wanted to do the Energy Show, a radio show, back in 2004, really to build our business. But the business kind of grew for other reasons. So I got too busy. When I started Cinnamon Energy Systems, I said, well, let's look at a new way of marketing, getting our name out there in Silicon Valley. So I've been doing a radio show since 2013. That works well in our local market. And then I realized that using recordings of the radio show, i.e. podcasts, would be a good way to stay in touch with our customers. So that's what we've been doing for almost 7 years. And the trick is to make sure that the podcasts are always very objective. So, we're not out there really selling anything particular. It's just pinging customers every week or two with useful information that they can use, and also helping people within the industry around the country. So I'm happy doing it. But it's, as you know, as you're finding out, it's a heck of a lot of work. It's a treadmill, and you got to stay on, because you got to come up with content, and you got to do the show, and you got to edit the show, and you got to send it out. And so it's a big commitment.
Right. I'm lucky that back in another life, I wanted to be a rock star. So I have my old drummer is an audio-visual producer. So he's been helping me with a lot of this stuff after the fact. So I'm fortunate to have someone make things look and sound a little bit better than I could probably do on my own. But definitely a lot of work. And I do think it's important to have good content, especially right now where people might be retooling. So to get people into the industry, what we do at Greenlancer a lot is help existing contractors get into solar if they're not already. So, we've been working with people in the insulation business, HVAC, standalone electricians saying, hey, this is something that I want to do. So having good content to give to the people that might help them avoid making some of the mistakes that I made when I was installing. I'm guessing you might have made a mistake or two in your 45 years in the solar industry, but nonetheless, it's good to help the people, just look out for the potential obstacles that we've both encountered along the way.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you and Nick and Jeremy, you guys have a big advantage over me because I'm a real geeky looking guy, and basically my family says I have a face for radio, so I'm stuck on radio. But you guys can do much better on the new kind of Zoom video conferencing thing. But it's fun to do, and I enjoy doing it. And I'll be happily here with my microphone doing podcasts for as long as I can continue to do so.
Well, thanks for saying so. I have to say it's probably more towards Jeremy because I'm hiding a balding head under this hat here. I don't have that nice thick full head of hair like Jeremy has, but nonetheless appreciate the compliment. Speaking of Jeremy's been with the company pretty much since the beginning. You have been working with Jeremy and Greenlancer for 5 years now, and nearly 300 projects later. Could you talk a little bit about your experience in working with Greenlancer over the course of the last 5 years?
Well, I think the 5-year time frame says it all. It's been a successful partnership, and the things have worked out well, and it's just continuing. And as you know, I really like your business model, and I recommend you guys to my other solar friends around the country. When I kind of look back on the specific advantages, your model is efficient for us. It's fast. It's cost effective. And at Akina Solar, I had a room of 60 project managers and engineers, and it was really hard to balance the spikes in business, going up, going down, seasonal. And it's worked really well with Greenlancer. That's not to say every single project has gone smoothly. I mean, things always, there's always issues that come up, or misunderstandings or changes. And the reason why I come back to Greenlancer is the customer service has always been good. There's been people at Greenlancer that have the right attitudes, and we always manage to get things going right. And it's just, we'll continue doing it. I just brought on board another one of my senior engineers that's been with me for 15 years, and she's just happily cranking away. And she used to do all the drafting, and now she can handle like 5 times more projects because it's all outsourced, and that works out great.
That's great to hear. And I've got to pump Jeremy's tires a little bit, because I think that quality customer service, it really does come from good leadership, and it starts at the top. And Jeremy's done a really great job of building a great culture and a great team when it comes to the guys who are behind the keyboard. A lot of times people don't realize all these messages on the platform. There's still people sitting behind the computer that take every message very seriously. And again, I tip my hat to Jeremy. He's done a great job of making sure that every comment is resolved and that you're always satisfied. So thanks for saying so.
All right, good. It's comes from the heart and comes from good business experience.
Awesome. So Barry, if I'm in the Silicon Valley area and I'm looking to go solar, what do I got to do to get a hold of you?
Well, from a customer standpoint, just send an email. Go to our website, www.cinnamon.energy. There's no .com. So cinnamon.energy, or send me an email at bcinnamon@cinnamon.energy.
Awesome. All right. Well, Barry, thank you very much, not just for letting us come onto your podcast a couple of weeks ago, but for also coming onto ours. It really was an honor to have you on here, and we really, really love working with you. So thanks for everything.
All right, great. All right, thanks, Nick. Thanks, Jeremy. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you so much.